Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kritiki, and this is Should You Play Picayune Dreams. Picayune Dreams is a bullet hell roguelite game made by the three developers Step Forward, Andyland, and Milky Possum, published by Two Left Thumbs on December 4th, 2023. It features a large skill tree, a solid number of unlocks, a dystopian horror story, and well-designed bosses. Step Forward, Andyland, and Milky Possum have released other games in the past. Underlevel, which is a 2D action dungeon crawler released on September 18th, 2023, and Olive's Art Adventure, an action-adventure game released on September 11th, 2023. Both Underlevel and Olive's Art Adventure have been received positive ratings, but Picayune Dreams is by far the group's most popular release, sporting the most players and a 98% positive review percentage on Steam. When starting Picayune Dreams, you spawn in the middle of a space with a strike of lightning. From that point, you can choose different locations located on the 4 different corners of your screen. Some locations have different modifiers, but I'll go into that later. When you arrive in a location, you are greeted with the first couple monsters. They come at you with uniform speed and no projectiles. You have an auto-firing projectile called the Core that you'll start each run with to take care of the enemies. Every bit of damage dealt to a mob spawns XP in accordance to how much damage it was dealt. For example, if one hit dealt 100 damage, then 100 XP will drop from the body, and if multiple attacks are done with varying damage values, then the XP will drop from the mob accordingly. When you gather enough XP, a thin green bar that surrounds your screen will fill, and a general upgrade screen pops up. And auto-pauses your game. This is very similar to Vampire Survivors, which is a classic roguelite. Each upgrade is put into coded text, which is hard to tell what you're upgrading, but there's a feature that allows you to look at each upgrade in detail in the menu. When playing the game normally, there's a mechanic called Mortality. It is used to show how far you are in a run and determines how many mobs are allowed to spawn at any given time. Mortality increases at a rate of 0.01 every 0.5 seconds. This does not increase in upgrade screens. Every 5 mortality, an incoming transmission will appear on screen, and when the remaining mobs are cleared, a set boss will appear, including some dialogue with some banter, story content, and jokes. Unless you are generating peril, of course, which happens after being the final main boss. In short, makes the game harder. When completing a boss for the first time, a memory will drop in the form of a USB drive, and that is the main source of story. Afterwards, you're presented with a similar 4 options of different locations to go to. After heading into one of the directions, the location will auto-select when getting close enough to it. Location modifications can appear, which can increase difficulty through changes in player stats, enemy stats, and unique enemies. There are also statues in the game that give various effects. They appear once every area. To interact with statues, you will need to get the item reroll unlocked. We'll get into that later with the skill tree. When interacting with the statues, they give you the effect associated with it, and then they will give you Curse, which can cause enemies with high hit points and other various effects to spawn. The last game mechanic to talk about before getting into the main menu, which contains character upgrades and unlock methods, is black holes and other consumables. Black holes are a consumable that appear on the top of your screen and act similarly to blinks in Enter the Gungeon, which is another roguelike. When hitting a space bar, the black hole will activate and will start sucking in projectiles, enemies, and XP. After its full activation, the projectiles that the whole black hole gathered are sprayed outward from the player in the direction of the cursor. They can be dropped from bosses and can appear rarely through drops. The other consumables that appear in the game are as follows. Drillers, which have stat increases and decreases, and you can sometimes gain black holes from them. Floppy disks, which give you a free upgrade screen. Chain grenade, which, well, explodes. Duh. Health vials, which restore 10 HP. A magnet, which absorbs all XP on the map. And the USB, we talked about earlier, which contains the memories. There are quite a few consumables in the game, and they all have their interesting uses. The drop rate for them varies, but you can expect to see them pretty often at a run, so always try to pick them up. Now it's time to move to the main menu and talk about all the upgrades you can get there. When looking at the home screen, there are a couple options presented to you, but the most important ones are the loadout, which is where you get permanent upgrades to your character, and the collection, where you can view your stats and see how to unlock new weapons. Looking at the collection, you will see a view of all the unlocks in the game and how to obtain them. There are both passive and active upgrades to be unlocked, with a total of 40 different upgrades that can be unlocked and played with abilities that range from damage areas around the character, launch range projectiles, status effects, stat upgrades, upgrade effects themselves, and aimed projectiles. Some of the upgrades you aim with your cursor, while others are auto-aimed or just passive. A majority of the upgrades are unlocked after you complete a run with 8 levels of a certain upgrade. Not every single upgrade has an unlock attached to it. My personal favorite upgrade is the Parasite, because it does a good amount of damage, has great utility with the right permanent character upgrades, and it has a very satisfying sound when killing enemies. In the collection, there's an upgrade viewer to see all the upgrades and what they do, a stats screen with game and player stats, and also a bestiary where you can see all the different mobs that you've seen in runs. When in a run, there are different builds that you can go for. You can go for a melee-esque build, an aimed projectiles build, AoE, and auto attacks are all viable strategies. You can have up to 12 different upgrades on your character at any given moment, with as many levels to those as you can get. Each level will increase damage, effective range, and projectile counts depending on which upgrade is being leveled. That is all the basic information for the collection, and there's another important place in the main menu, the loadout, which is where we'll use skill points to have permanent upgrades to your character. In the loadout menu, you are greeted with a really standard skill tree with branching off options granting various effects. This is where the roguelite element comes into play. A roguelite versus a roguelike often gets misconstrued. A roguelike is a specific time to game where you're not having permanent character upgrades. You're just starting off each run exactly how you started it the one time before, with only really unlocking specific items, while a roguelite happens when you actually unlock buffs to your character's stats, different weapons for it, etc. In the upgrade menu, in the permanent upgrade spot, they can give you anything from more health files, give you item bans and rerolls. The item bans make it so if you do not want to see an item in your upgrade menu again for the run, you can ban it from showing up. Increased pickup ranges, main projectile stat increases, increased damage for status effects, XP modification, it goes on and on. There's a wealth of paths to go down and things to do, so you can spend a long time maxing everything out. To get more skill points, you have to collect XP within the game, and after a certain amount of XP gathered, you will obtain a skill point. The amount of content in Picayune Dreams is astounding for the price that you pay, and is why I'm a huge supporter and fan of indie developers who put their soul into the games that they make for players. You can tell this is a gamer's game, with homage to classic roguelites everywhere and Vampire Survivors specifically. Picayune Dreams feels like a modern Vampire Survivors, in a sense sharing a lot in common while expanding on different ideas and coming into its own. That is everything to do with the game mechanics, but now it's time to discuss how the game just feels to play. In this small unscripted section, I'll talk about how fun it is to play, what is the ambiance, music, etc., and how I'd place it on the recommendation scale. We'll also do a guided run of the game while skipping dialogue and the final boss to prevent spoilers. I'll go through my thought process of what I'm doing along with possible strategies against the bosses I'm fighting. One thing that immediately stuck out to me when I started playing Picayune Dreams is definitely the music. It's got almost a synthwave feel that really kind of puts you into the game. One of the more interesting things is when you go into the memories of the game, which I won't really go into because a lot of that's just kind of personal story. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. The music for the memories is really, really cool, and I really enjoy how the music in the game just kind of makes you feel like you're in space and fighting some crazy out there monsters. Generally in Picayune Dreams, when it comes to just kind of the feel of the game, it's definitely not the fastest to play, which it's just normal for games kind of like Vampire Survivors. It's kind of got slower walking speeds, although there's upgrades that kind of can increase your movement speed. I'd say for the most part, what you're trying to do is just use upgrades to kind of attack around you to defeat monsters before they come close. There's a couple upgrades that kind of circle around you and do a lot of damage. One thing that I found interesting about the game mechanics is that actually if you hold two different directional inputs at once, you actually go faster. So if you're trying to dodge enemies, a best way to do that is just kind of dodging diagonally between them instead of dodging in a singular direction. And kind of when it comes to the variation of playstyles, there's definitely quite a few of them. It does, I mean, you can mix anything you want, although it can get kind of limiting if you're going for a specific strategy, especially if you don't get the exact upgrades you want. I mean, the item rerolls and bans come into play there. You can kind of put as much XP as you want into them. There's a lot of different upgrades when it comes to that. It's like a whole line of a skill tree. I'm sure I put that in the video somewhere. I would say that you should put most of your XP and time into upgrading the other parts of the menu first, and then kind of going into the upgrades and bans, but you definitely unlock the rerolls, because it's the rerolls that allow you to use the statues, which are honestly a really important part of the game, and they also give you an unlock. Kind kind of moving into the unlocks, they feel honestly really nice to get. I mean, compared to other games, specifically like the Binding of Isaac, some of the items to get are really, really hard and are locked behind a super difficult character when it comes to getting them. In Picayune Dreams, a majority of the upgrades come from just getting 8 of the same level in the run. It's pretty simple and straightforward, and it feels like everything is pretty easy to get a hold of. You have a lot of upgrades to start off with in the game, and it feels like you have a lot to just kind of move with in the beginning, so it doesn't feel super constricting. There are some that are unlocked through just kind of playing the game. Like if you get 20 mortality, I think maybe 15 mortality, you get an upgrade. And then if you beat the game, you get an upgrade. But other than that, for the most part, it's just getting 8 of each. And when it comes to just general fun between the bosses and normal enemies, honestly, being able to kind of dodge in between each of the individual enemies, having a giant mass of mobs kind of following you is really, really fun. It's kind of the game where you can just really lock in and get in the zone. It is totally like a mindless zone game where you're just locked into the extreme and you can just dodge between everything. The bosses are like your classic bullet hell type bosses. They're really fun to fight against. I think my favorite's definitely the worm boss. It reminds me a lot of, I think it's the World Eater from Terraria. I don't know if y'all, if y'all play Terraria, you know what that is. I personally don't play it that much, but it a lot of reminds me of that boss. It's really satisfying to kill because of all the different links. The bosses are actually pretty difficult for me. I mean, some of them are quite easy. The first boss is pretty easy. The second boss is really easy. The goal is to kind of no-hit the bosses. You get an extra upgrade if you no-hit them. Overall, it's a really fun game to play. And kind of moving into the story and the lore of the game, I would say that the story is really, really open-ended. I mean, you have some lore to go into, and you get these kind of backstory, but I'd say that a lot of it's just kind of up to your personal interpretation about what each character is, and I find that really, really cool. But that just kind of wraps up this little unscripted section. If y'all liked that, leave a comment below just to tell me that you preferred something a little bit less scripted rather than the more rigid scripted style that I kind of was going for at the beginning of the video. You know, at this point, I'm just gonna probably put into a commentated run that I did. Hopefully it goes well. You know, I'll stop before the final boss, of course, because I don't want to spoil the final boss of the game. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stick around, leave a like and subscribe if you liked it. I'll try to post as much as I can. Alright, I'm out. Alright, welcome to the commentated run of Picayune Dreams. I'm Kritiki. So, right now, we're just kind of moving towards our first one. Looks like it's Amaranth Mist. Got our first enemies coming in. Of course, got my general core upgrade. These first ones should be pretty easy to take care of. As you can kind of see in the top right corner, you got the timer going on, sitting at 30 seconds. The border of the screen, of course, is the XP fill. The little green coming out is the XP that you get. Alright, we've got our first upgrade menu here. Let's see, so we have the hallucinator, our hydroaccelerator, actually, my bad. That one's going to move a ball kind of around the screen. This is a fire lighter. It will light just enemies on fire. And then the parasite, which is my personal favorite. This little alpha here just means you're just gaining the item. It's not like a level or anything. So I'm going to go with the parasite. And so this little guy is just going to move around and kind of hitting the different little enemies, the little blue ones. Here's a box. What these do is they just, if you take care of them with specifically like aim stuff, automatic attacks won't really go through them. If you hit them with that, they'll explode and they'll give you some decent XP. So as we're kind of going on here, we're taking care of the enemies. Our little parasite guy's putting in really good work. As you can see, the enemies kind of get higher over time. In the top left corner, you can see the mortality rate, which you can talk out earlier. All right, we've got another parasite menu coming up. Okay, the shrapnel shells. This will make it so when an enemy dies, the shrapnel will come out. This is kind of an aimed projectile, kind of like a whip. And the slime spike here will cause things to go around you in an automatic method. I'm going to go with the dagger glove. So, kind of as you can see here, the dagger glove is going to come out and attack different enemies while I'm aiming specifically. And this is asteroid here. It's kind of the same thing as a box. It'll explode and give you some points, or this will actually give me the floppy disk, which will give me an upgrade screen. So you have the missile pack, the injection, and the halo. All these are alpha. So the halo will make a protection ring around me. This injection will give me plus 0.1 weapon size. And this missile pack is an automatic one that will just kind of shoot rockets at enemies randomly. So I'm going to go with the rocket here. So as you can kind of see down here, the statue of trade here will basically give me, I have to give away one of my black holes, which you can kind of see at the top of the screen. I have 3 of them. And for a floppy disk, I'm actually going to go ahead and do this. So I pressed E to activate that. And so now I'm in here. I'm going to grab this floppy disk, get an upgrade. So I've kind of got some similar upgrades. The shrapnel shells is back. We got the horns and the Digiwatch, which will kind of reduce cooldown, make our items shoot faster. The horns are going to make like giant jaws come out and attack things that actually end up getting really close to us. I'm going to go with the shrapnel shells. So we haven't gotten any repeat items yet, which is a little bit of a shame. I'd like to get an upgrade on my parasite. So as you can see, when you kill an enemy, you got like the 3 little projectiles coming out. So when we're looking here, we've got these new enemies coming up. They look like missile launchers to me. They're pretty much the same thing. I'm pretty sure they just have a little bit of a bigger health pool. Here's another crate I can open. So it looks like here, when you do more damage to enemies and a bunch of XP kind of clumps up in one spot, they'll actually consolidate into bigger points. And it just makes it easier for it to pick up. Later on, you'll get like whole flasks. We've got another one here. Oh, parasite upgrade, which is really nice. This will pick up just a pickup radius modification, make your pickup radius XP bigger. And this one's similar to, it's just another like goes around you item. I'm gonna get an upgrade in the parasite. So as you can see, now we have 2 little parasites going around. These hands just showed up, and the hands have actually a very small amount of HP, which is nice. So as we're going over here, we have 2.3 mortality, what it looks like. Pretty simple stuff. When we get to 5 is when that first boss will show up. Here's a satellite. Once again, it's just kind of the same thing as the box and everything like that. Got it here, actually got a black hole pickup again, which is really nice, and now I'm replenished on that. So here's a rainbow enemy. It's just got extra percentage HP, and you can get little drops like this, like the floppy disk, or you can get more XP from them. So here I've got the angel wings here, which pushes enemies back. This is the volatile C4, which will have enemies explode on death. And here's another parasite upgrade. I'm actually going with the volatile C4 because I already have the prickly pack, which will make so that when enemies die, pretty much everything around them is going to die as well. So picked up the flocky disc. We have another one. So the frost globe slows enemies down within a radius. This defensive turret just pops up an actual turret around you and shoots. I personally really don't like this upgrade. It obviously, try it for yourself. A lot of people do like it, but personally, it's not my favorite. And I'm going to do an upgrade on the volatile C4. It'd be really nice to get some, like one of those magnets right about now. It'd be really nice. These guys are absolutely nasty. They have a little counterpart that comes in later on or in a different run, kind of depending what your draws are for what enemies you get. They just kind of dash at you and they get close, just have a little bit of a speed increase. When you're in kind of like a big group and you've got them all clumped up, they do end up like catching you off guard. So this plasma lamp here, a parasite V3 and defensive turret. I'm going to go with the parasite upgrade. As I was talking about earlier, I really do like the music in this game. It's not like super overbearing, but it definitely helps you get in the zone just kind of with what you're doing. And as you can kind of see, the statue of trading does stay around when you're next to it. You can kind of continue to use it and continuing to get trades, although it does kind of change as you can see. I'll give a black hole for a magnet. Let's do it. Okay. Well, it did not give me a magnet. It was just a rotating cycle. That's why. Really didn't need a reroll, but that's okay. I'm going to go with the parasite again. So we have 4 upgrades in the parasite now, making it honestly really, really strong. I got really lucky there. I don't know how I didn't get hit. Kind of as you can see, we have 100% HP. Every time you get hit, your HP will go down by 10%. It kind of changes depending on, you know, if you get partial XP modifications or different like partial upgrades. You'll kind of see that after we beat a boss. The partial upgrade will come in, and you know, the percentage increase and decrease will be a bit different. I'm going to go with another Parasite upgrade. I'm trying to get that up as much as possible. As you can see, they're putting in absolutely insane work. Killing enemies automatically and having them die and explode, killing other enemies. It's just a really nice chain reaction. And one thing is you can kind of see is that my core, my first little firing ability, isn't actually doing a whole lot. That's because it's just I haven't upgraded it. You can upgrade it. It is an upgrade that comes in, and it becomes really, really strong. There are some upgrades that you, in the permanent upgrade section that come in that allow you to upgrade it and make it stronger on its own. As you can see down here where my cursor is, it shows you which upgrades you have and how many of them you have. Up here is kind of where the modifications are looking, and then down here is just a little bit of a stat report. So we have 3 different upgrades. Again, I'm going to go with the Dagger Glove just because I already have it, get it a nice upgrade, something I can kind of aim specifically. So we did get that incoming transmission, so I'm going to go around and try to collect as much XP as possible before this boss shows up. So here are the 5 little Parasite guys. Now, if none of the enemies are on screen, they won't, of course, attack, and the enemies are still detected by the game, even if they are on screen. And so, actually, here's the boss, little bunny. This boss isn't too bad. It's just kind of your basic bullet health formula. I really hope I don't get hit here. It's going to be kind of embarrassing depending how much I was talking about how easy it was. We should be fine though. So kind of as you can see, my Parasites are definitely putting in the most work along with my rocket. It's a little bit out of range of my aimed attack, which is why it's nice to have some balance of both. Alright, so this attack's pretty easy too if you just use your diagonal directional movement to gain movement speed to dodge. And there we go. That's the first boss. Alrighty, so as you can see, it drops 3 health vials, a black hole. This is a drill, so if I pick it up, it'll kind of give me different modifications. This one just gives me HP up by 25. This one will give me a control object max, so I can just have 1 more item, so like 13 items, and it'll take away a black hole. This one here is going to make it so I can move 0.10% faster, but my pickup radius is smaller. I'm just going to go with the global health upgrade here. Here's a floppy disk. We got 3 more options. This is also one of my favorites, the Hunter's Bow. It's just an automatic bow and arrow that goes out. It's just an arrow that kind of seeking. It's kind of like that the blue-skinned guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's really cool. Another missile pack, and then this Ultra Buster. It's kind of like your core, but it shoots in a singular line. When you upgrade the core, it'll spread out. This one only shoots in a singular line. I'm not a particular fan of everything, so I'm actually going to reroll here. Okay, so we got the Halo, Slime Spike, and Shrapnel Shells. I'm going to go with the Shrapnel Shells. So it drops a couple 100 XP clumps. So as you can see, these 2 corners of the screen, there's a little bit of a buff. I'm not going to go for that, because honestly, I'm not the best at this game. I'm going to go with just this general area over here. You kind of get a preview of what enemies are going to show up, so you can kind of choose depending on that. It shows you the statue that's going to appear along with just some basic enemies that might appear there as well. The statue appearing is actually quite useful if you know what each statue does. The Picayune Dreams honestly has a pretty small wiki, but if you decide to go there and figure out which statues you prefer, oh, look at that. Look how satisfying that was. That's exactly why I love the Parasites. They're my goats, man. So we're kind of at this little satellite here. These skull guys are not that bad. I just got hit. That was a little pathetic. Sorry, guys, but, you know, it is what it is. Hope we can get this box to explode here. I really want to get the stuff that's inside of it. Come on, there we go. Nice little clump of XP. You know, these little head guys, they're not super bad. They'll just kind of, when you get close to one or hit it, it'll open its mouth and start moving faster towards you. Alright, new health menu. You got a strike call. This will just call down stuff automatically. This leg saw will just shoot saw blades out from your body. And missile pack, you've seen it before. It's just a missile. I'm going to go with an extra upgrade on the missile pack. At some point here, I'm probably going to have to use... Ooh, goodness, I just got hit. At some point, I'm probably going to have to use a black hole. It'd be nice to show you guys what it is. I usually like to save them for bosses. Especially for this one coming up, I'll definitely use him. It's the worm boss, the one that kind of reminds me of the guy from Terraria. It's honestly a very satisfying boss to fight, but it shoots out a ton of projectiles, so it's a great case study for kind of what the black holes can do. This is another kind of strike call down. I'm going to go, this is in a core upgrade, so it just makes your core do a bit more damage. I'm going to go with another missile pack upgrade. Here's right here is a nice clump of XP. You know, I kind of drawn attention to it earlier, but kind of as you can see at the top of the screen, there's kind of that fill bar. That's kind of what tells you when the XP grade is going to fill. This game has honestly really nice sound. Ooh, we just got a magnet. It's super nice. Alright, I'm going to go with the dagger glove. Getting those magnets like every once in a while, just periodically, is really nice because it draws an XP from everywhere on the map and brings it to you. So of course, as I said before, even when like you're off screen exactly, the data of the monsters and the XP and all of that is still saved like locally in the game. So if you just pick up stuff like that, it'll still come to you pretty quickly. Go with another missile pack here. Trying to get as much upgraded as we can just so it does enough damage. Eventually when we get them high enough level, I'll start branching out and getting some new stuff. We'll just have to wait for that. We're sitting at 7.5 mortality. Once again, when we get to 10, we'll get that second boss, the worm boss. Okay, here's a grenade. It'll explode, take out enemies next to it. It'll kind of chain between them. Really nice, gets XP. If you have like a large clump of enemies in later sections, it'll explode them all really nicely and give you a nice chunk of XP. And the more enemies you can kill at any given time, the more enemies and XP you'll have. Just because there's only a certain amount of like monsters that can appear on screen at once, and if you don't, and mortality just increases by itself without you doing anything or killing enemies. So killing enemies doesn't make mortality increase faster. So if you wait and don't kill any enemies, you're missing out on crucial XP that can upgrade your run. So going and just killing as many enemies as possible whenever you can is definitely the most important. And even if you don't get all of the XP that they drop at once, just make sure to not get hit. And if you get a magnet, it'll just work out and you get all the XP anyway. Okay, I'm gonna go with another parasite. Definitely the most important thing is just making sure you don't get hit as much as possible. See, these guys were one of the ones I was talking about where they just charge at you. Really spooky. So as you can kind of see, they get the general basic guys at the beginning of the game, but there's also like the little upgraded version like this guy right here that are purple. Those just have a little bit more HP so they can kind of keep up with your increased damage so everything doesn't get super easy. I'm going to go down here and grab this grenade, find a big group of enemies, and look at that. Nice. Alright, so this I2 is a new item we haven't seen yet. It just creates one giant beam that'll constantly attack for you. I'm going to go with... I'll go with the Hunter's Bow this time. You know, as far as roguelike goes, I haven't played too many, but like, actually that's a lie. I have played quite a few roguelikes. What I kind of meant to say is I haven't played too many like Vampire Survivors. I tried Vampire Survivors for a while. It just kind of wasn't my favorite kind of game. I'd actually seen this game on YouTube before. It was kind of an indie game recommendation video, so I decided to give it a try and just really ended up liking it. Once again, the music is really good, all of that fun stuff. Alright. Yeah, I'll go with the C4 here. The music is really good. I think the sound design is my favorite of the game. Just the way that the enemy dying sound effects, the XP is really satisfying to see move towards your character. The general like pixel art is really good. It's got a really nice ambiance overall. Really makes it enjoyable to play. But sort of my main roguelikes before this came out, I really enjoyed playing Hades as well. I'm gonna go with the Hunter's Bow again. I really enjoyed playing Hades when that came out. That was like my first roguelike of all time actually was Hades. It was super fun. It was my first top-down roguelike. I really enjoyed playing it. I only beat it once actually because I really didn't understand how roguelikes worked at the time, is when you're supposed to beat it multiple different runs. I need to go back and play through that game a couple more times and beat it with all the different weapons.
Alright, we're going to go with this Volatile C4 for the last one. Upgrade before this boss. But Hades is honestly a really, really fun game. My main roguelike is definitely a Binding of Isaac. I've put the most hours into that game by a very large margin. So as you can kind of see here, it shoots out a ton of projectiles, and it's this giant worm boss. It's really, really satisfying to fight. So I didn't mention this in the previous boss fight because it really wasn't super necessary. When you look at my cursor, you see a red line. That shows you where the bosses are. It wasn't really important for the first boss because you kind of see where each one is. You see where it is at all times. But for this one, where it kind of goes in and out of screen, it's really nice to keep track of where it is. So I just used a black hole there, and as you can see, it's shooting out the projectiles that it sucked up. It also gives you invincibility, so I use that to save myself from getting hit. You really want to aim to beat every boss no hit, because you'll get an extra item. So the better you beat each boss, the better you're going to play. So I just beat the boss, no hit. See, you can see that little flawless there. Really makes you feel good. Alright, so we've got all our XP back. Here's the driller. I'll pick up the driller. Alright, so the driller is the absorb module, which increases our pickup radius, but it reduces our black hole max. This is a cooldown mod, which will make it so, of course, you'll shoot faster, and minus weapon size, which I had, honestly, one of the things that I noticed is that weapon size doesn't make a huge, massive difference. A lot of the upgrades where weapon size actually matters. Every time you upgrade it, the weapon size will upgrade with it, so kind of worrying about weapon size isn't a super big deal. And this is the movement module. The pickup radius is going to go down, but the movement speed is going to go up, kind of what you saw before. Looking at these, I think I'm going to go with the cooldown module. Isn't super useful because most of mine are auto-attacking. I'm going to go with the movement mod. Speed is super important because it helps you dodge different enemies. Okay, we got the floppy disk. Alright, so we got the core, firelighter, and shrapnel shells. I'm obviously going to go with shrapnel shells. Alrighty. I'm going to go up here with the spider guy. Kind of as I was saying, my main roguelike has definitely been the Binding of Isaac. Actually, one of my good friends got me into Binding of Isaac, and I've been trying to get some of my other friends into it too. It's definitely not everybody's type of game, but it's almost like I guess Vampire Survivors would be the father of roguelikes, but well, actually, I take that back. Vampire Survivors is a roguelike because it's got a permanent upgrade system to your character specifically. Binding of Isaac is actually your quintessential roguelike. The only thing you truly do is upgrade, is get more item unlocks. You don't really upgrade any characters. The Binding of Isaac has 32 characters to unlock, and there are like tons of different bosses. It's super, super fun. That's another game I recommend checking out. I might make a review on that in the future if that's something y'all want to see. I highly, highly recommend the Binding of Isaac. It's got a ton of bosses. The items are super diverse. It's one of the largest item casts I've seen in a game. It's got so many items, and some of the synergies that each of them have is phenomenal. Like, you cannot see synergies anything like the Binding of Isaac. It is some of the most iconic items, and it's one of the most iconic roguelikes of all time. I mean, almost everybody has at least seen the Binding of Isaac before. If anybody's ever seen the Binding of Isaac, please just let me know down below. I'd love to hear your experience with it. If you've got 100% Dead God on one save file, or if you've infinity percented it, go touch some grass if you've done that. It's insane. But I'm kind of sitting at around 400 hours in that game. I definitely have not Dead Godded it yet. It's just not something I super focus on. I kind of enjoy just playing other characters. Alright, so I'm going to go with the static satellite. So you're going to see a little bit... I'll see if I can help describe it. You're going to see kind of a lightning strikes coming down almost, and that's going to be what it is. It's almost like an airstrike being called down. The fireworks on my rockets, of course, but... And then I took some time just in general to explore as many different roguelikes as I could. I really do enjoy quite a few. OXTO is a really fun shooting roguelike. Let's see. I'll take the shrapnel shells. It really seems to be giving me that item a lot. And I'm continuing looking on the Steam store and finding on different roguelikes to try. It gets really fun. Alright, so this is where the game honestly gets quite... It starts getting difficult, at least for me. I'd use 2 of my black holes there just to not get hit. I'm going to try to save this last one for the boss. Once again, something that's really important to do is just really not getting hit. Oh, so as you can see, I got a magnet, so got a bunch of stuff. Alrighty. So we got a dagger glove pass, make plague maskers, poison snakes, and angel wings. I'm going to go with the angel wings, so it should push back enemies that are close to us. Yeah, see that? It absolutely just launched that guy into space. Alright, so as we're going in here, got that line, really satisfying to take out. So these little horn guys, so you see the skulls with horns, they'll just split up into 2 normal skulls. I've got an upgrade that basically makes it so... Oh, I'm goodness, I'm getting hit. I gotta escape. Alright, we're gonna get another satellite. Now this third boss is actually quite difficult. It's one of the more difficult for me specifically. I somehow just have a really hard time killing it. It's got a really large HP pool for the where you're at in a run. I mean, we'll see. I should be able to beat it here just because I have a large wealth of HP, unless I kind of lose everything here. But this run's pretty good. I have a good amount of HP. Of course, a lot of it's just RNG, depending on what you get. But that's kind of why the item bans and the item rerolls are there. Alright, we're going to take the volatile C4, get more enemies to explode. Stuff like the volatile C4 is completely useless against bosses because they don't spawn other things to fight with them. So it doesn't do any single target damage, but they're really good for clearing out enemies. So in beating bosses, you do have to be aware, and just playing this game in general, to make sure to get items that will specifically target bosses, because if you're left stranded in a boss with only items that affect masses of enemies and not the boss itself, you're in for trouble. One thing that you can always upgrade is your core. It really is just a really consistent damage dealer. Alright, we're going to go with the Wings version 2. But it really is just like a super consistent damage dealer that'll always do you well. When you first get into the game, you kind of assume that the basic weapon's not going to do a lot, but it does a lot of damage if that's something you want to go down. Oh boy, this is intense. Alright, so these double horn guys are just like the single horn. They'll just split into 2 horns and then 2 more. It gets pretty crazy pretty fast. Alright, we're getting, if we can just survive this here, we're getting really close. We're getting really close to our next boss. Just gotta survive, try to collect as much XP as we can. Hopefully get one more upgrade. I keep taking damage, it's a bit of a shame. Alright, so see that big clump of 1000 XP? It's super satisfying to pick up. Angel Wings are doing me a giant favor pushing them back. So this one right here, the Soul Spear, is gonna be really cool. It'll just shoot out a giant, well, basically light spear to attack the enemies in front of you. It does go with your cursor. Each upgrade will shoot one in a different direction. So if I got a second upgrade, it would shoot it behind me. Alright, so we got our incoming transmission. The goal is just to beat all these enemies here, get as much XP without getting hit. Alright, let's see, come on. Let's get one more level. There we go. Alright, I'm going to upgrade this light spear. Oh, see this this vial? That's just when a bunch of XP gets consolidated in one spot. Alright, here's the biker. This is a boss I always trouble with. It's got over 30,000 HP. It is a lot. Whew. Good dodge there. Alright. Oh, got hit. Okay, so this boss is really hard. I really do enjoy the boss design, like, in this game as a whole. I think each boss is really unique, and it's quite fun to play against. That attack, it'll just change directions and then come at me in a straight direction, so unless you get unlucky and it changes directions right next to you, it's pretty easy to dodge. But kind of as y'all can see, I am definitely struggling with this one. I think we should be good. Its HP is going down really fast. Oh, so it just chucked out its rider and that's going to go back. Oh, goodness gracious. Alright. Oh, no. Oh my goodness, I'm taking all the damage in the world. Oh my god, I'm fumbling. There we go. We somehow managed to beat it. We did not deserve that win, but we got it nonetheless. Dropped a lot of XP, health files. It was not a perfect, so I didn't get an extra upgrade, but I do get a driller anyway. Alright. So I'm going to get a crit chance, just so we can increase our damage. Collect this XP, and go on to the next area. Now, if I survive this whole area, this will be the last area I'll show you guys, because after this, the final boss starts coming into play. I will beat this boss because this isn't the final one, but just to avoid spoilers, either I die here or the final boss for this run here will be here. So, and we just gotta wait until we get to 20 mortality. So it is already intense. There's tons of enemies. One of the biggest things to do is just staying on the move at all times. Alright, this is the flamethrower, which is really nice. I'm just going to go with the missile pack, though. But this game really scales up quickly, and you have to do some pretty precise dodging if you want to avoid everything well. Alright, here's our statue for this area. Just a statue of experience is what it looks like. Sorry for low commentary in this area. I do have to actually lock in a little bit. We're in a sticky situation here. Let's see if we can get out. Perfect. Okay. We're going to go with the Dagger Glove. And we got an extra upgrade because of how much XP we got. And we're going to go with the Static Statolite. Another upgrade very, very quickly. Let's go with the Missile Pack. Lot of XP there. Those wings we picked up are putting in so much work pushing those enemies back away from us. Super, super nice. Kind of when you get to this point in the game, you almost lose track of your cursor or mouse. But it doesn't matter too much if you're just running on a automatic run. But if you're going for like an aimed run, it is nice to know where your cursor is. It gets pretty lost in the mass. We are actually getting quite close. This Nox at 18.5 mortality. We are getting quite close. Hopefully we can get through this whole section no hit. That'd actually be really, really cool. Ooh. We'll see though. It's pretty crazy. My parasites are putting in some insane work. $19.3 mortality. We are getting close, close, close. $9 9,000 XP in that vial there. Insane. An extra black hole. That's really, really useful. 5,000 XP here. Got a nice upgrade. $12,000 there. Oh, we got hit. That's a shame. Right at 19.8 mortality. Alright, another spear. Tons and tons and tons of XP here. Alright, we made it to the incoming transmission. Now no more will spawn. This boss is quite hard. It just takes, it's not, I guess it's not super, super bad. It just takes a lot of precise motion. It's got decently difficult patterns to dodge. Alright. Oh, goodness. Alright, so... once again, the patterns in this one are honestly really, really fun if you know how to dodge them. This one here is my favorite to dodge. It's just really, really entertaining. Ah. Oh, goodness gracious. And once again, you can kind of tell through this game it's just a gamer's game. I mean, the passion is just oozing through it. Oh boy. And we have died. Well, we got to see most of the game and all of the bosses besides the final one. But I'm going to leave you guys here. I really hope you enjoyed this video and this commentator run. If you want to see this anymore, if you don't want to see it, let me know in the comments below, and I appreciate you watching.